Welcome back to another NACInktober 2021 inking tutorial video. You guys have been doing so great with Inktober so far. I know it can be hard to draw and create every day, but you're doing a phenomenal job. But if you need to take a break every once in a while, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't want to get burnt out with your creativity. In today's video, you're going to be learning about a technique called stippling. So let's get started. In today's inking technique video, we are going to talk about one of the most loved and hated inking techniques available to you. This is called stippling. Now, stippling is done by making hundreds and thousands of small dots. Now, if you didn't join us for our last inking video, this is called a grayscale, and this is what we're going to start practicing with. A grayscale simply shows different levels of value starting at light and going to dark. Now, the light value will probably be your favorite value because it's a lot less work. All you're going to do stippling is just take your pen and touch it straight down to the surface and form a dot. And you're just going to continue to do that. Now be aware, this can be a loud process, so be sure that you're doing it in a space that's not going to annoy others. And there you go, that's all you have to do for your light value. Now the reason that stippling is both beloved and hated is because it's very time consuming, because the only thing that changes your values of your stippling is by adding more dots and lessening the space in between your dots. So it takes some time. Let's go ahead and try this second value box. That's about the value you will want for your second box. Now, one of the biggest things to watch out for when you are stippling is you do not want to create what I call fireflies. So normally with stippling, you're just dropping your pen down straight down to the paper to form one dot. But as you start to speed up, it's easy to start dragging your pen to form this, what looks like a little firefly. This will make your work look sloppier, and this will also really draw the attention of your viewer to this spot. We don't want that, so try and avoid that as much as possible by keeping your pen going straight down and making sure that you're not dragging as you lift back up. Let's go ahead and tackle this third box here. We need to get even darker than this, which means more dots. That's a pretty good value here for your third box. Now, if you're having a hard time forming your dots, please make sure that you're using a pen that has more of a felt tip like this. Oftentimes, I'll suggest that my students even use thin tip Sharpies. I wouldn't use a thick tip because those can bleed out really easily, but if you use something like a thin tip Sharpie, that'll help you form your dots better. So now for the fourth box. Now this one's gonna take even more time. So it's good to stretch out your hand every once in a while so you don't cramp up with this. And I apologize for any camera shaking. This can be a very aggressive technique. Last but not least, you've got this big one here. This one's going to take quite a bit of time because you're going to try and eliminate as much of your white space as possible. So this is just a time process. Now, whatever you do, don't cheat it and just try and color it in. Ink and pens leave behind not just ink marking, but also indentions in your paper. So if you cheat the system and you try and color or shade this in, it's going to look very different than this, and it will stand out. You want to be sure that your skills are blending in together no matter what value they are. Oh, we made it. So, and I could probably still do a value even darker than that. So it's always easy to create values when they're separated using techniques, but when you're actually making a project and making an object, you need to learn how to blend together all those different values so they're not all separate. So on your paper, I would draw a circle or two. You don't necessarily need two, but this could be your backup or your extra practice one in case you want to do another one after this one. So we're going to go ahead and number our values up here. This will be value 5, and then we'll just work our way back. This will be your roadmap to help you with this sphere. So I always like to start from the darkest to the lightest. Now, I'm gonna keep it in this pencil line here and keep it in that little sliver, but eventually we're gonna go back and be able to kind of blend out our different sections even more. The reason I like to start with the dark one is because you can always add more ink, but you can't take it away once it's on the paper. So if I start up here in my light area and I go way too dark up here, I can't take those spots away. So let's start back here, and it's always better to be a little lighter than what you want to be in the end. I would say that's a good starting spot. So let's go ahead and do this next sliver, and this we're going to try to match to a level 4 value. So that's probably a little bit lighter than what I want to end up with, but we're going to go ahead and do the next little sliver, and we're going to match that to about a level 3. In the next part, you want to be sure that you leave this circle right here without any dots, because that's our brightest highlight. Now we're going to go ahead and erase our pencil lines. Now we're going to work on just blending out some of these divisions that you can still see between our values. Now this is a lot easier with stippling than hatching and cross hatching because you're simply just adding some more dots to soften up those lines. Last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and do the shadowing. And just like that, you have a very three-dimensional sphere using stippling. Now I know many of you probably just don't see this as being a technique worth the hassle and the time that it takes, but you can do beautiful things with stippling because not only does it give you such intricate and such power with how you're shading, but it forces you to slow down as an artist, which if you're like me, I like to move quick, which sometimes makes my work less phenomenal. With this, when you have to take your time, because you can only go about one speed with this technique, when you're forced to slow down, you can do amazing things. So I would highly encourage you to try this technique because I think you'll definitely find that it's worth it. Thank you so much for joining us for another NACinktober 2021 inking video. I really encourage you to try out this technique. Even though it can be time consuming, the results are totally worth it. I encourage you to try out stippling within this next week in one of your prompts. Keep on going, you're doing a great job. Keep embracing it and keep creating.